Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to RSP podcast. I'm here with Toine Haverkamp, the director of a YouTube documentary, Same, But Different. How you doing, man? Thank you for taking the time to come on.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. I'm really good. I'm happy you invite me for this.
Yeah, no problem. I saw your documentary, and like I say, I loved it. I do documentary filmmaking myself. But so tell us a little bit about it. Particularly the name as well. What does the name mean? How long did it take you to film? Where did you go?
The idea, I think I've recorded it. It's now already 6 years ago that I started the trip. It's been a long process. And before I was, when I started uni, that's even longer. I was always working on projects. I made music, released music here in the Netherlands before. Then I was doing some, how do you say, presenting work for internet channels. So when I left, I didn't want to really stop the creative process going on, and then I thought, okay, I should come up with a project. So I was getting into filming at that point. And I had a friend who was working here in the media city of the Netherlands, Hilversum. And at that point, I thought, I'm going to backpack because a lot of people in my environment were doing that. But I had as they told me, they really had nice stories in those things. But I had really no clue what to expect in that, what backpacking actually was. So I thought, why don't do a documentary about backpacking? And in the sense that people who have been traveling, that they can relate or can see how things have changed. And for example, I always keep my parents in mind, to show my parents, okay, what is backpacking actually? Like the simple things from the practical things, but also in some way how it changed people, because that's all the time that people say that how it changed them, that they're looking for themselves, those kind of things. So then I came up with that idea. I bought a camera, and a friend of mine who had some experience with those kind of things, he kind of coached me from the beginning on. And then when I was on the way, I started filming and interviewing people, and I had really no clue what the story should be. I just filmed like crazy. So in the beginning, that was terrible. When I was traveling with some people on the road, because I never been outside of Europe. So I know the first time I was in Bangkok, the first days, and then every time I had to stop because everything I saw was new for me. Like to see those electricity things everywhere on the street, like the small market stalls. Yeah, if you travel a few times, you're not surprised by those things. But I thought I had to record everything. So in the first months, I had so much content all the time. Because I did everything myself, all the time stop, get the camera out of the bag, the microphone on, all the gear, and then film it back, and then 5 minutes later, the same process. So that's kind of how it started. So the first months were pretty tiring, and also a lot of shit content that I shoot, because I thought everything was important. And that's kind of how it started. And with the title, it's kind of a joke, because when you go to Southeast Asia, that's kind of the slogan, what the locals all the time say, if you want to buy, why should I buy this, or why should I go there? And it's for them same but different. So I thought it was a fun title, and also to put a documentary about backpacking, because people know immediately what it is. And I think there are already a few movies out there with the title Same, but Different.
Oh, I see. So you kind of swung it into that. It's clever.
Yeah. So
I like it. So where did you start? You said you started in Bangkok, and then give us the overall trip, and then we'll talk about the individual destinations.
Yes, I started in Bangkok, and there the idea was that the first initial idea was that I was going to travel for 6 months, and then I was gonna do the first month with my ex-girlfriend, and then before I left, this was for me a super hectic period because I know I contacted a Dutch guy, a producer who's at the moment who became really famous in the Netherlands, and I contacted him 1 week before he exploded in the Netherlands, and at that point I could meet with him and I could hang out with him, and then we went out and it was all fun. I thought, oh cool, this guy's gonna make the soundtrack of the documentary. It's all fixed. And then in the train, I was in Amsterdam and I went back by a night train. It was about 2 weeks before I left. And then then I fell asleep and my phone got stolen out of my hand. So I didn't have any phone. I didn't have any funds to buy a new one because I had to everything exactly saved up for what I needed. So I couldn't get in touch with anyone. At that moment, I also decided to break up with my girlfriend. And my mother, she got in the hospital because she had the kidney stones thing.
Whoa.
So yeah, it was such a terrible time. And also I had to pack up my dorm because I subrented it to someone else. And I wasn't really reachable. You didn't have the Facebook or those things where you could call to people. So it was all writing, but there wasn't the laptop. So when I left, it was terrible. But then in Bangkok, I still have my ticket with my ex-girlfriend to there. So that was pretty awkward in the plane. And but
yeah, I bet.
yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah, were you sitting next to her?
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
that is an awkward 12-hour flight.
No, also we broke up like pretty hectic and dirty, and so it was, it was already big load to leave, and then there at the place she was there with her family and friends. I was with my family and friends, and it was all.
I think if you asked any guy what the scariest thing in the world would be, it would probably be being stuck on a 12-hour flight with his ex-girlfriend and her family friends.
Yeah. They were not flying with us. There was only two, so after the border we were together. But
yeah,
if I now think about it, was and my friends are still making jokes about that. And
I can imagine
very good ride.
Yeah, I can imagine though when you were landed, you were fearless. You know, you've overcome man's greatest fear there. You could take on anything.
Exactly, and that is also the point because I was scared when I arrived, man. Like from the journey. And have you been to Bangkok?
Only stopped off in the airport. The only place in Thailand I've ever been was Koh Samui, and that was on a family holiday, so a bit different.
Okay. Now you in Bangkok is crazy with now, especially you British people. You trash the place.
Yeah. Well, I think we have a reputation for trashing the place everywhere. It's an unfortunate stereotype. There's only a few bad eggs, I promise.
But it was cool for me. I arrived and what is this? You know, you have this mix of as not only British, but just like Thailand tourists and also Thai farmers who come there to work, or Burmese people who work there on Coast and Road. And I was really shocked. It was really like a movie, kind of a trance. So I decided to, and my girlfriend was also kind of shocked. So I decided to stick with my girlfriend for the first 1-2 weeks. And then from that point on, we start to split up. We were also pretty done by the time. Now we're on good terms. But then after that, from Thailand, I like Thailand, but it was for me really good, and that's also what I say in the documentary to start. And from that point on, I traveled to Laos. In Laos, I met you have the slow boat from Thailand going to Laos. And my visa expired on the same date as my ex-girlfriend. So there was only one slow boat going out. So we were again stuck with each other. And this reminds me, I don't know if you are you experienced the book? That's a book about traveling from William Scottle.
What's it called?
Yeah. Are you experienced? Let me check. By William Sutcliffe.
No, I've never read it.
Sutcliffe. Yeah, it's a bit like that. He also goes traveling with his girlfriend, a doesn't really work out in those things.
Oh,
So that's from that point on in Laos, I went on a boat, met really nice people there. We're almost only Dutch, so I felt really stereotyped to be stuck with a group of your own nationality. But
yeah.
we had loads of fun. So that was for 2 weeks, and it was really partying all the time. I think what should be included as well in the Southeast Asian trip. From
Yeah.
there,
Sorry, sorry to interrupt. When did you set off on this trip? What year?
this is 2015.
2015. Because I know Laos is getting a bit sort of bigger now with backpackers, but from around that time, I'd hardly ever heard of it.
Yeah, I didn't have any clue when I went to Southeast Asia. I knew friends were going from Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam.
Mm.
But if you would tell me before, like, can you point out where it is? Then yeah, I would point at China probably, or Thailand.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a small landlocked country, but I hear amazing things about it.
Yeah, because I was stuck with this group. We were really with a big group of people, like 12 or something. So or 12, maybe even more, 15. So we travel all the time to the hotspots. Maybe there we rent a motorbike or something. But you have this amazing things like northern Laos. There you can, I think, go with a motorbike and travel around. I heard from people there it's super beautiful. But I just been to the random places there and did the tubing, those things. And for my documentary, it was great because those are the spots where yeah, it's like a backpack magnet, you know. In Thailand, they kind of spread out, but they're everywhere. But in Laos, most of them come again there, and there's maybe 4 places. So those places are super full with backpackers. So for filming and interviewing people, yeah, that was for me great for the purpose.
Yeah, and I imagine going around with a camera as well. It made it kind of easier to meet people as well. You just, oh, can I come up, talk to you, interview you? Were most people shy, or were they up for being interviewed?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. It was actually also a nice way to get in touch with people, and it also felt like a license sometimes for being off alone.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes you want to be alone when you're with a big group, and when you're alone, you want to kind of justify it, or at least is for me it works like that, to
I know
justify.
what you mean. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I know what you mean. You kind of feel a bit bad if you say, "Oh, I just want to go sit on my own for a little bit as well." But I find that release with photography as well. So I think you're right.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, if with photography it's the same. You kind of can get into your camera, and then it's okay, you know.
Mm.
So yeah, there was a really nice side effect of working on the documentary. The people, everybody was super interested in it, and they wanted to be interviewed. And at some point I decided, like, okay, am I gonna interview really a lot of people, or am I gonna do just pick out people that I like or have a connection with, so that I have the feeling they're open, and then I go really in depth with them.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. So I think I did a few really long interviews of between 1.5 and 2 hours with those people, and with most of them I was with them already for a few days, so they felt comfortable with me, and that's also why I think they're really open, and you have that personal connection with them. So, and it's easy, you know, when you travel, you have time, so it's
Exactly.
it's not
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
issue to spend time with someone. And I not all the people I interviewed are in the documentary. And then I decided, okay, what is the average for backpackers, you know? So I think there's like 6 key figures or 5, and like half them are women, or I think 2 women and more men, and one from Scotland, or well, one Irish guy. Then I talk a bit about myself, Dutch guy. Then from Canada. So it's kind of this mixture of people who you meet when you're backpacking.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those guys because some of them they seemed quite interesting. There's obviously the Japanese guy who's now, I think you said he's now running a restaurant in Madrid.
Yeah.
He seemed like a really like calming, interesting figure to be able to interview. There was some sort of really like mystical presence about him. Do you still keep in contact with him? What was his name?
Shin. Yeah, Shin is a really, really good friend of mine.
Mhm.
I traveled with him in India. So I arrived at some point from Nepal, then I stayed a bit there in Varanasi area to Delhi, and then I was going up north to Fascist and Ladakh. That area is super beautiful. This moon landscapes. I think, or you've been, or you have heard about it.
Sorry, where was it?
This is in Ladakh area and Manali.
No, I haven't been. No.
No, now Manali is not. It is not really a family destination, I think, because it's
Yeah.
kind of the smoke capital of India.
Oh,
Uh,
I have heard of this place actually, though. I remember I met some Indian guys from my hometown, and they were saying that it's really popular among Russian people, etc., that they all go there.
yeah, I think you have now. It's Manali is a place in the hills, and then Fascist is a small village up another hill. And in both of them, there's just a lot of, I think, of anywhere. But I don't know what's changed in the last 5 years. There I haven't been afterwards. Well, in other parts in India I've been, but the Russians seems to be really exploring, the Russians and Chinese at the moment.
Yeah, Russian. Yeah, you do get a lot of Russian tourists, a lot as well with Chinese students as well, Chinese travelers as well. Because I used to live in Cambridge, so a lot of them, a
Yeah.
lot of Chinese travelers go to Cambridge. I'm guessing now is that for so long these countries had travel restrictions. I suppose that now this young generation are probably the first that can really venture out and backpack, unlike their parents and grandparents.
Yeah, I think so. But what they kind of sort out from the backpackers. They are now they are all also backpackers from there. But after those, like after 5 years, I every year I kind of try to do a backpack trip from at least 1 month. And my experience now is that they their English is sometimes not good at all,
Hmm.
and they're really really on their own. So they don't seem to really mingle in the backpack community. But I don't know if that's also your experience.
It is a little bit as well. But I mean, particularly with Chinese travelers, that they seem they don't they obviously they seem to more keep themselves. Russians, yeah, I think it is the same, and I think it is because as well, like you say, I mean, most people who are travelers, etc., they do have some sort of knowledge of English, which most Russian people don't, and I think that they feel a little bit left out because of that. But
Yeah.
uh, but I've met Russian travelers who can't speak English, but they show so they're so like outgoing and nice. They're just like showing their personalities with the way they act. They're constantly giving you food, giving you tea, just like
Yeah.
I met this Russian guy who was cycling. I guess he was cycling across Jerusalem or something. I don't know. He just came into the hostel and he had so much energy and he was running around. He was giving people chocolate bars. He was giving people this homemade tea he was making. He was really nice. Couldn't
Oh,
understand
really
what the
cool.
guy was saying, but he was really, really nice.
Yeah, those people, I have a lot of respect for them, that they still
Yeah.
go traveling, and the people who hardly, but they don't see it as a boundary. Yeah, I wouldn't do it myself,
I
but
could do that myself either. I would find it very hard. With all my experience, I'd still find it very hard.
yeah, and I think, but especially for you British guys, like is so nice. I always think like to go out and you can just speak your own language.
Yeah, it's also a hindrance though, because obviously English people kind of have this thing is that we don't need to learn another language because everybody else speaks English.
Yeah,
It's a bit of a hindrance in a way.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, but uh, do you get second language in England on school?
We do. So, I mean, at my school, my school was turned into sort of a languages college when I was there, and so I took French and Spanish for a number of years. But what I always found it what I found that like when I would speak to my friends from Europe who, for example, they'd lived in England for a bit and then they'd gone back to live in Europe, they said that the way that the language is taught in England is not as good as it is taught in European schools. And the way they explained it to me, and I think it is very true, is that we kind of learn the individual words and then you have to put it into a sentence.
Yeah.
Whereas what they were saying is that on the continent, they focus much more on conversational skills.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and it depends also on which country. Like,
Yeah, I would assume so. I think that's probably quite a generalization, but
yeah,
like that's what they were saying. And I suppose it makes sense because now I think about it looking back to my schooling. Like I can get by with a little bit of French and a little bit of Spanish, but the way I look back on it, that is also kind of the way I felt it was taught.
yeah, yeah.
But maybe I also didn't apply myself because I was a bit younger then. So
Yeah, you know, those years on high school, your priority is not learning a language. That comes
exactly,
later if you think that can be
exactly, yeah.
useful.
Yeah, exactly. But sorry, we'll continue. So you're in Laos. Where'd you go after there?
Yeah, from Laos on, at that point, I had an amazing time with those people. And there, I think from Thailand on in Pai, that's the north, was my last destination there. I met really nice people. Um, and two of them actually there. I also traveled in Laos in that group, and
Yeah.
two of them we became really good friends. And they after I came back, we meet again with I meet again with them, and they start a relationship with each other.
Uh,
So that was really nice. They met each other there,
yeah.
and I think now 1.5 year ago they got a baby. So
Oh wow, they stayed together.
they stay together. Yeah, yeah. So I do see them. I think every month, and I traveled with them this January in Sri Lanka together with my own girlfriend,
Mm.
and they were with their baby in the tuk-tuk, and we rented their own tuk-tuk, and then we traveled together in Sri Lanka. So those are some people that. There's around like 5 people that I will point out later on in the interview. But those people are
Wow.
really, really good friends of mine, and those I met in Laos. So I had to say goodbye to them. That was kind of hard, but I decided that I wanted a bit more challenging things. Otherwise, I was gonna do the trip all together with this group. But for me, I already found out that backpacking is also kind of get out of out of the comfort zone. So then I went to Myanmar, and Myanmar was kind of different than it is now. Now there's a lot of political issues. That actually it was the same, but now there is another political issue. And then they open up the borders for a few years, and I thought it was like adventure to go there.
Yeah.
So I had to go back to Bangkok because you had to apply there for a visa, and you had to get like a certain amount of pristine dollars from a certain seri number. It was all very weird how the rules that you had to follow.
Is it
Uh,
still like that?
I'm not sure. No, I don't think so. I think now they have ATMs as well there.
Yeah, yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah. But in this point in Myanmar, you were staying with a guy you'd interviewed, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's another good friend of my Okar. I
Mm.
haven't seen him yet afterwards, but we're still in touch.
Yeah.
He also get into videography now. I met him on the plane, and I was with two other travelers there, and then we met him, and he was super open. He said, "Yeah, come to my place. You know, you can sleep there." And then yeah, we get in touch, and I think I stayed with 1 month for him and with him, and after 2 weeks I think the other travelers they left, and we travel all Myanmar together, and then meet up with family of him, party there, go to clubs and those kind of things I would never do in Myanmar because it
There are
was
clubs in Myanmar.
yeah, you wouldn't.
How was the nightlife there?
Yeah, terrible, especially what you expect, like loud EDM music
Yeah.
and cheap whiskey. and this was then kind of the fancy place. But most of the places are really different than if we go to, I don't know what your club experience is, but if I want to go to a club, I want to have nice music, and we're used to this industrial vibe, those kind of things. And there it's fancy, super loud music, mostly rich people and prostitutes there, and then for that country, crazy expensive prices. But yeah, I loved it to do those things, to be with those locals and kind of see how their life was, And I was visiting kind of his family, so everything they want to do, I said yes.
Yeah. So this is actually really interesting as well, because I was interviewing another guy, Maigo Mark, in a previous interview, and he walked from Estonia to Indonesia, including across Burma, Myanmar. But he said that when he was there, that he couldn't stay in people's homes. He said that it was illegal at the time for citizens to host travelers. And I think he was there maybe around the similar time of you.
Oh yeah, that could be. I know his family. They lived in Yangon, in the previous capital, but still I think if you go to the real official capital of Myanmar, that is a weird story that they told me. The prime minister at some point, they have a lot of how do you say? We would say kind of luck tellers, or people who read your hands.
Fortune tellers.
Fortune tellers, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's pretty big there. And the prime minister, that's the story he told me. The prime minister went to a fortune teller, and the fortune teller said, "You have to change the capital. Otherwise, terrible things are going to happen." And the story is that in that week, he decided to start a new or to create a new capital. So he created this massive city in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the country. With I think there's like 12 lanes, like empty, because there's no cars. And
I've seen this. That is bizarre. It's on a Netflix documentary called Dark Tourism. It's like the world's largest road, and they're standing like right in the middle of it, and there is not a soul around.
No, exactly. So, and that's so weird. So that's now the new capital, and that's a story that they say how that it happened like that. Not sure if it really was like that, but I love to believe that.
Yeah.
But I don't know with his. It was no issue at all with his family, and maybe it was also more on the countryside that it was more difficult to do things like that. But you had to have permits for everything. But I think they were a pretty rich family, I think. So,
okay.
You know how it goes in those kind of countries.
I actually know. There is someone like who I'd met through various other people, and he was basically saying how his father was a general in Burma. And he was basically saying that he hit someone with his car. And he just kept driving, and the dad covered it up.
Yeah,
that's the story I heard.
Yeah, it could be. I think Myanmar is a country like that. You know, especially as before this interview, we talk a bit about India. Yeah, about India, you also hear those weird stories, like if you have rich parents or business people. I don't know if it's true. It's always second or third hand if you hear those things. But
in India, I can vouch that I do know in various families, they're more village and town police forces, but various families do control those police forces in the more rural areas.
Yeah, it's weird. With those things also, I try to prevent myself of showing my opinion, or because I'm not a Indian, or I don't live in Burma, but I think it must be difficult for those people to live there.
But the thing is, I mean, that happens at like lower parts of society in places like India and Burma, where the infrastructure isn't as good. But it does, I'm sure it happens in the UK and in the Netherlands, hire people in government paying to do dirty things.
Exactly. Yeah, that's also because when you backpack, you also discuss loads of those things. And I always say, yeah, I think it happens in Europe as well, but just on a higher level. We don't know if you check about foods and those kind of things, how those things are being made. Now, there's a lot of things that you can get into where we don't know what's happening, or yeah.
One classic one as well is that, I mean, you heard it. I hear it quite a lot in Central Asia, but it did come out as obviously is that in the after the Afghanistan war started, the production of shipment of opium into Europe went on the increase as well. So that's got to have something to do with it as well.
In where in Europe or in
the shipments of opium from Afghanistan and the Chinese hills were the shipping was increased into Europe. That more was getting into Europe since the beginning of the Afghan war.
Oh yeah, of course. And so don't forget, we have a massive problem here in the Netherlands with ecstasy production, which
of course, yes.
So those things are on different levels. We have our problems here, and in the UK, I think as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's just there, unfortunately. It might be a little bit more visible.
Yeah, exactly.
But you have good memories of Myanmar, right? Nothing went wrong. You have good memories over there. You made good friends. You had a good experience with families.
Yeah, I love it there. That I would really recommend people to. That's, I think, that was the first country where I went on a trip that I would really recommend people to go there who like to explore. And I think there is still a lot to explore there. There's no massive tourism there yet. There's a massive political discussion going on now with the Rohingyas there. But yeah, if you try to support, I think we try to not to go for the state thing, so we didn't support the state, but to the small people who have small shops, those kind of things.
Exactly.
I think
goes obviously this is anything with travel, is that you've got to go see it for yourself. You've got to go understand and make your own judgments. You can't hold a country by the state.
No, exactly, because I got some not really criticism, but people say, no, you're really positive about Myanmar, and said, if I'm gonna base my opinion now on what's happening now with politics, there's a lot of countries that I wouldn't include because I don't agree with what the politics are doing. But I really look to the people, and for me also, I'm not really about sites or those kind of things. I like to go to India, see the Taj Mahal, but for me, the real memories are with the people, and the political system there. I don't live there, so for me that doesn't really have any influence on how I experience the country.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I think you're right as well. And I think that what you're saying is that if people traveled to countries where if they didn't believe in their political system or things that the government do, we wouldn't travel anywhere. If you look at the LGBT, if you look at lesbian, gay, bi, transsexual rights in Indonesia and Malaysia, they're not exactly pretty good, but they're still backpacking hotspots. There's crime everywhere.
Exactly. I've been to Iran afterwards as well. Now that's also not really a political regime that you agree with normally.
Exactly. I mean, everybody hates the government in Iran, but everyone I know who traveled to Iran says they loved it. They can't stress how much they loved it over there.
Yeah, exactly. So I think politics and the people who live there and your experience, for me, are totally separate things.
Exactly. Exactly. So Gan, let's continue. So where did you go from Myanmar?
Then I went to Cambodia. First I had to go over Bangkok to Cambodia, and that was hard because I kind of had to reintegrate into the backpack trail again, which I was really used to this local experience, those kind of things, that were a lot of travelers are looking for. And then I went to those places where Siem Reap, where you have the
Pub Street and Angkor Wat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've been as well there?
Yeah, I've been there. Yes, I've been there. Yeah.
Oh, I felt so sad there, and this was because I heard 20 years or 30 years ago there was nothing there, and then you see those massive hotels, and I was really looking forward to see the temples, but was really nice, but those were temples, and I didn't blew me away, and didn't meet the nice right people. And then I called with a friend of mine in the Netherlands, and I said, I think this is the first time that I'm not so enthusiastic about the traveling here, and just like kind of looking for advice. And that friend of mine, he traveled a lot in India. He said, if you don't like it, you move on to the next thing. That's a cool thing about traveling alone. So that is what I did. And then I arrived in an island, Koh Rong Island in Cambodia. And then I thought, okay, in every country I go now, I want to do something special for myself, and also to kind of do in the documentary to cover a full range of activities that you can do as a backpacker. And then I decided to move there on that island, Koh Rong, super beautiful island. Like there was only a beach side with some bars and some really dirty hostels. But that doesn't matter because it's the most beautiful place you can imagine. And there I worked for 2 weeks. That was nice, like that place. It was super small, cozy. Everybody knew each other there. It was a nice time. But after 2 weeks, I felt also really isolated, kind of. So I knew I wasn't really an island person.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, no, fair enough. It does look beautiful, and it does look like that you had a really that part of the documentary seemed, I don't know, I found it really interesting, that part, particularly with this Irish guy that you were interviewing as well. That he was saying that that he's kind of traveled here and he's living on this island, but he has to go home back to Ireland to start to be part of his family business, and you can tell there's just something about that made him really sad.
Frank, he was a co-worker. He was working at another place there on the island, and I found it also a really good interview because he is a really open, social guy, native speaker, which also works. And I saw during that, because when I was with him, was always drinking or having a laugh, but I didn't really know him that well. So, and then I was talking to him, and I also saw his pain, like of being in this family business that his family has, and they kind of follow this path of studying and then take over the family business. And he was just this guy who wanted to be free, like I don't know if he surfs, but this kind of surf dude,
Yeah.
And then and he did it. Like he went traveling, and currently he lives in Canada, and I think he's happy. I don't think he took over the family business as he lives in Canada, but I talked to him on Facebook, like for the documentary, to give him updates. And sometimes he replies, but I think he's pretty focused on his own thing. So he gave me an update on what his life looks like now. And then afterwards, I sent him some things, but he didn't reply. And that's also fine, like.
As well, they're kind of, these people as well, they're, my friend referred to them as they're kind of like mayfly friends, that they're there for a bit and then they disappear and they're off on their own, but you still exchange a message or something with them every couple of years or
exactly.
whatnot. And that's just how it is, isn't it? Because people move on.
Yeah, exactly. And when you meet also, so I don't know how it was for you when you travel. You meet a lot of people on the road, or it sounds like it at least.
Yeah, you do. You meet so many people, and you kind of end up saying, you feel like you end up saying more goodbyes than you say hello as well, though, doesn't it? Because the people you get attached to, you do really get attached to, and you do stay with them for quite a while, and those goodbyes are always really sad, but it's always a part of traveling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it kind of feels like this can be really a goodbye. And of course, you always say, you should come over when you're in the Netherlands, and or when you go there. But half of them I already forget like over
Yeah.
the years. Yeah, sorry
Yeah.
for those people, but
Yeah,
that,
well, I mean, it happens though. But then, I mean, I was saying to an Italian guy I met while I was in Jordan, he was like saying, I'm probably not going to remember your name, but I remember, I met some English guy who was from Cambridge, and you remember them who they were, but you don't
yeah.
remember their names, you don't remember specifics, but it's always these kind of, yeah, these mayfly memories.
Yeah, I love that honesty in people when they say it, but that I think that's also pretty Dutch, the directness and
Yeah.
maybe harshness sometimes, to be
Yeah,
honest.
he was an Italian guy, but
Yeah, no, but also on the trip, sometimes you really meet those direct people, and that
yeah.
Dutch people love that, you know.
Yeah, no, yeah, I could, yeah, they do. They love being direct and just saying it straight to the point. That's how it is.
You had on your trips, you had some nice experience with Dutch people.
Oh, whenever I go traveling, I always meet really nice Dutch people. I always say to them though that whenever I go to Amsterdam, I find the people who work in Amsterdam are just so rude. But
Oh yeah.
the people who I meet traveling, the Dutch people I meet traveling, they're always so nice.
Yeah, I think like we Dutch people don't really go to the red light district areas and the touristic parts in Amsterdam.
Mm.
Uh, but I think there the people who work there they get paid really low salary. They have to work really hard. They have to deal with
A
a lot
lot
of
of shit. A lot of shit.
tourists who just want to get shit headed there, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really get what you were saying, but I also feel for those people who work in
No,
those.
I feel for them too. I really do because
Yeah.
I can imagine you have to put up with so much like crap. But there are some people with that like you go up to a counter and they like even if you're nice to them, they're just rude back. And then that's
Yeah.
unnecessary. That's unnecessary.
No. That's I get it, but I think in many of those places, it's really the lower society who get those jobs, and they yeah, at some point maybe they get a bit sour, like with
Yeah.
if they never have a really nice chat with someone, then yeah, at some point they think that yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, they probably all see me coming like a British person coming like, oh God, here's another one. He's all right now. Give him a couple of pints, he'll be wrecking the place.
Exactly, yeah.
That's exactly what they think.
Yeah. No, it's good that you also had some good experience than outside of the Netherlands
Yeah.
with Dutch
No,
people.
it wasn't all bad in the Netherlands. Although the last time I went, I stayed in the Airbnb, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty. The guy was like, I knocked on the door like with my fist, and he was like, "Oh, I appreciate you come from a third world country, but we have doorbells here." And I was like, "Whoa, there's no need for that." I was like, "There's no
Oh,
need for that."
oh.
As well, like, okay, fair enough. Okay, my skin complexion looks like I come from India, but like, I have a British accent.
That's a pretty racist to say.
Yeah, I was like, dude, what the hell?
Yeah. I think now I think London is not much different, but Amsterdam is now they have a problem because with the Corona thing, they cannot rent all those apartments, but the entire city center is being bought now by investors from wherever over the world, and they kind of rent their place out. And everybody who has a place there, they want to rent out an Airbnb because they can get such a shitload of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not really for the city center. It doesn't really added value because it takes out the soul of the city. That's what the people from Amsterdam say. I'm not from Amsterdam, but I kind of understand what they say. It becomes kind of an open air museum at the moment.
I know what I mean, and to be honest, like yeah, like I've been a couple of times now, and I do see like that like it's cool when you're 18 and you're 19 and you're first going abroad and you're getting shit faced there, then it's
Yeah.
awesome. But then when when you get back to it, it's actually a little bit annoying. Everywhere's too crowded. It's a bit too small for it's too small for the amount of people that come in, and I can imagine living there would be just so annoying because you can't get around. Even cycling, there's always a tourist in the way.
Yeah, that's what people say. But still, I think when those people make such a shitload of money about tourists, in any situation, those kind of remarks are totally unacceptable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, that is true. Because I suppose it is obviously one of. I mean, I imagine it might be the most profitable, like its biggest profit tourism in Amsterdam.
Yeah. I think you
Must
should
be.
be respectful to the people who pay for your bread, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then those people who pay the bread should also be respectful as well.
Yeah, it goes both
Well,
ways.
both
But in
ways. Well,
Amsterdam,
both ways.
there is some section where it goes both on both sides the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But so go on, let's continue on with
Yeah.
where you were in the documentary. So where even were we? Were you in India now?
No. I went to from there to Vietnam,
Yeah.
and in Vietnam, there I got you've been to Vietnam?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I spent 3 days in Hanoi and 3 days in Ho Chi Minh City.
Oh, cool. Yeah. You probably have seen also or heard people who bought a motorbike there, and
Mm,
that's also what we did. Frank actually told me that in the interview that's in the documentary
yeah.
in Cambodia, and then I thought I arrived in Ho Chi Minh in South, and there I arrive in the hostel and I get in touch with this guy Nate who is in the documentary as well, and there it was like 12 o'clock and we said in the afternoon, and then we said no, okay, should we take a beer? Yeah, let's do it, you know. And we were completely enjoying the fact that we could just decide on it was probably a Monday or something, that we go for a drink at 12 o'clock and just, you know, enjoy life, drink, eat,
Mm.
and didn't cost any money. So at some point we got drunk at now let's say 3 o'clock afternoon, and then he said, yeah, I think I want to buy a motorbike. And then I thought, yeah, okay, I also want to do it. And then we went to a motorbike seller, and we bought a motorbike. Uh, so we never drove a motorbike before.
How much? How much was it?
I think I bought it for two $250. Now, actually, he bought the Honda Win. I think that was the name. That's kind of the classic one.
Yeah.
That's really kind of also motor style motorbike with gear. And I had to buy a scooter because I also had to film
Oh, of
while
course.
while I was driving. So I think I bought it for 250. He probably something 3 or 350. And then you drive all the way up to the north, and there you then sell it. So I drove with him for I think halfway, and then like many times we lost each other on the way. So it was always the doubting, like, are we going to see each other at the end of the day again, yes or no? And in the north, that's Hanoi. There I met with him and some guy I was traveling with that I met in North Thailand and also traveled with in a group in Laos was there, and a Mauritian guy who I met in Myanmar was there. His name is David. I met him afterwards also in Nepal, in Myanmar, Vietnam, in Cambodia, and I convinced him because every time he had to go back to Australia, and in Nepal at some point I convinced him to get a visa, and then he extended 3 months to go to India, and then we traveled there 1 month together again. But we traveled with a big group in the north. That is Northern Loop. I think is getting more famous now.
Mm.
And then you pass by the Chinese border, and that is super beautiful there in Vietnam. That is, I think, the together with Leh Ladakh in India, the most beautiful nature I have seen. But truly amazing. And you go to those small villages, and you see the people. I think, I don't know, the farmers there on the hills working. It was a really nice experience there.
Mm.
And I stayed, I think, 1 month, no, a bit longer, 5 weeks in Vietnam. And then there I also interviewed Nate in the documentary. And that was that's also in the documentary for the people who want to see it. It's kind of a spoiler, but he unfortunately died later on. Because I went back I was pretty good with him, and I went back to the Netherlands, and 3 months later I saw on Facebook those Americans are really like, or at least he and other Americans that I have on Facebook as well, they can be pretty open in putting everything on Facebook. So at some point I saw kind of things that he died and people reacting on that, and everything was really out in the open. And then I thought, what is this? And I contact my other friend who knew him, David. And then turns out that he died in a car crash or a motorbike crash in Thailand, because after the trip he went to Thailand to Woof on he was going to work teaching children in Thailand, in Chiang Mai. And then in the evening he went on a motorbike, and then he got struck by a truck, and then he passed away. Yeah, so there was a really sad time to hear that, and especially also for his parents. But then I immediately contacted the parents of him, and I handed over all the footage that I had of him, because he was a guy who was really blossoming up, kind of the nerdy guy in school who never really blossomed,
Yeah.
Now he was finding his call. So I don't know if you can say it in English, but he died in the harness. How do you say? He died doing what he liked.
Oh, he died doing what he loved. Yeah. He died in the saddle, I think is the word.
Yeah, he died in the saddle.
Right.
Yeah. So he that's the beautiful thing, and his parents saw that also in the footage, because I think I had most footage of him with interviews.
Yeah.
But that was a really sad time. But I stayed in touch with his parents, and they are super grateful for the footage, and that was also central in the ceremony of him. They put all the footage there in the piece of the interviews. So in that sense, it's terrible that it happened, but I was happy to give them that footage. That I think it helped them with their grief.
I can't imagine what it did for them to help them to see, like, even though that they know that their son was on the other side of the world, at least they could still see like what an amazing time he was having. And like you say, it's very sad that he was blossoming into who he could have become, but it's also like you say, it's beautiful that it was, that he did have the chance to blossom.
Yeah, exactly. So to get angry or something with the fact that he isn't there doesn't bring him back at the moment. So I think we should.
Unfortunately, it doesn't, and then unfortunately the world, it keeps turning. But it's very sad, and at least you have those treasured memories and you have those treasured films of him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So but that is also part of the backpacking. I hope for most people not, but those things. I think that's the biggest fate of parents who let their children go traveling, that something like that happened. But I saw it can really happen,
Yeah, it can, and then it's one of those unfortunate news articles that does rarely happen, but when it does happen, it almost always makes the news as well.
Yeah, exactly. And also for people who listen to this, don't let it stop you from going to travel. Like, take care, don't drink, don't drive. Like that's really important, because so many accidents happen with that. And also not with drugs, of course.
Yeah, of course. And exactly, as well as this obviously I know you didn't tell this story to scare anybody out of traveling and etc. It's just, be safe, be careful, but enjoy yourselves as well, like your friend did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I suppose that and then so what happened next? Was that India?
Almost India. Yeah, then from there on, I went to Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, those countries there. Also, my sister traveled 1 month with me. That was really nice to see also someone from back home and reconnect for some time. After that, I didn't meet many backpackers. We really bit together, and it was also nice to be a little time off from the talks, where you're from, etc. Then I went to Nepal. I didn't really plan to go to Nepal, but I had to go there to fix my visa and to enter India, because India was on my list, because we have the idea was that I was going to travel for 6 months, and we have here those student unions, kind of fraternities. Like I think also in England you have. And I'm in one, and if you are 5 years together as a group, you kind of celebrate your lustrum, we call that, and you do a big trip all together. And our trip, those are also my closest friends. We decided to go to India because another friend of mine has traveled there a lot and he really liked it. And for me it was nice because then I could extend my trip and meet them in India. So from that point on, and I'm really happy with that because India was my best country. But before I went there was in Nepal, and there I had to fix the visa, and I met a Colombian guy, first Colombian I met, who was working for volunteering in this place. Is a really famous place now where those kids without parents go. It's somewhere near Kathmandu in a valley. But anyway, it was a Colombian guy, and through him I met in the embassy another Colombian girl, and we get in touch with each other, and we were supposed to meet each other in India as well. Didn't happen, but afterwards she is going to study in Berlin, and she's going to visit me here in the Netherlands, and we get in touch, we start dating, and we get into a relationship, and now she became my girlfriend, and she lives already 3 years with me here in the Netherlands.
Wow, so you met your girlfriend in India as well?
Yeah,
In
exactly.
Nepal or India?
Yeah, in Nepal, in Kathmandu. So Nepal was really nice, but it was short. But the nice thing that it gave me is my current girlfriend.
Yeah. That's probably one of the best memories that could come out of it. Best souvenir, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and it's for me that's one of the most beautiful things it brought me from traveling. Like besides all the new friends and every day I'm confronted with my trip in that sense.
Yeah. A permanent reminder.
Permanent reminder. Yeah. No. And from that point on, I went to India. That was my final destination. Yeah, and that I heard a lot of things about it, and a lot of people are negative about India. They say, yeah, it's dirty. Everyone is a rapist there, and now, to be honest, I have only like good experience there, and of course, also some experience that like I arrived in Varanasi. Varanasi? You've been there?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, that's
the holy city.
The holy city. Yeah.
No, I haven't had the chance to go over there yet. Hopefully one day I'd like to. Where they dump the ashes in the Ganges, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the most crazy place I've been. Like everybody says when you go to India, that's the most crazy place. And then I don't know, I'm really stubborn, so I all the time think, now let's see, but it was crazy. I was traveling already for 6 months at that point, and I arrived the first in the city, and I was already scammed for 4 times in a day. Like you would think I would be more experienced, and so at the end of the day, I thought, whoa, this must be really something, this city. I thought I kind of get to know how to work around those things, but no, I had to start all over again from there.
Yeah.
But that crazy that city is crazy. I know that they have those ceremonies with the people who are dead, so you really feel the emotion there because all the families are there and they want to put the body on the holy water, and then before it goes, they have to split the skull open to release the ghost, and then it goes underwater, but then the body is all open there. Then it's burning, and then the remains they put on the water. And I even saw like a dog with some limbs from a body, because there's a lot of dogs and crays, those birds there.
Yeah, the vultures.
Exactly, yeah. And then at some point I was completely all over the place, and I watched at my right and see a dog with some limb of a body in his mouth. I thought, oh, this place is too crazy, yeah. but I loved it also for that. But after 4 days, I was done with it.
Yeah. You also, if you actually hear stories of some of the some of the Agori monks out of there in those areas, they actually go into the water and take bits of people and eat
Oh
them
yeah.
and use them in their ceremonies. Yeah. There's one guy, he's actually quite like he's famous. Like he is famous. He's a celebrity. And he says that his powers is like, his powers are so divine that apparently he's brought a few people back from the dead. And the government have actually government have made like a statement saying like, you can't do this anymore. You can't bring people back from the dead. It's wrong.
Yeah.
He says
Oh.
that there's a guy he's brought back from the dead and he has 3 children now. Let me see if I can find his
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can find. I saw him on a documentary on the Himalayas. Let me see. Uh,
But this is so India, those kind of
yeah,
stories, for
yeah,
me.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and then when the people were telling me about it, they were just saying it was normal. Like, yeah, it was crazy. It was just like, yeah.
But
Let me.
when you are in India, you can talk in Hindi with them.
No, no, no. I understand a little bit of Hindi and Punjabi as well. But I mean, so I heard people mostly it was people speaking in English.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
bits of broken. But like Punjabi is quite as interesting language is that they're kind of just, there'll be like kind of English words just thrown in there, and
yeah.
then you can kind of make like you can kind of make out what it is.
And how do Indians or the Punjabis see you when you are there? Like,
It's really interesting. As I say, I haven't been for quite a few years now, so I was a more of a child, more or less a child the last time I went. But it is interesting. But because I would stay in the small villages as well, so most of them had known me since I was quite a small child. So not
yeah,
really differently.
no, that they
No,
see you
no,
just.
not particularly, not really. They just think, oh, it's interesting that people have come from England. But like I say, my in the village where my father comes from, our family are quite well known. They were landowners.
Yeah.
So people knew who we were, and we'd been brought over there since we were children. So,
Ah, okay, yeah, yeah.
so
So it's
it's like even though they didn't know me, they'd know who I was.
and it's so part of society, I think, like to move to England at some point, or to have your cousin who is in England. And when I was there all the time, I had to hear from Indian people like, yeah, I have this cousin, he's in Australia, this one is in England. And
Yeah,
I find it adorable, but I also thought, yeah, why do you share all this information
yeah,
with,
I know, yeah. I know, but it's so big for them as well, isn't it? To be honest, I
Yeah,
mean, my family came over probably what in the 60s now, maybe the 60s and 70s. So my father's lived here quite a long time.
yeah.
So, but if you're interested in learning more about those cannibal monks, if you type in on YouTube, Levison Wood walking the Himalayas, getting a blessing from a cannibal monk, then you can learn about them there.
Okay, okay. Can you send it later to me or in the chat?
Yeah,
I will check it out.
yeah, I'll send you the link to that. Anyone on YouTube can check that out as well if they're
Yeah.
interested. Um,
Amazing.
so India was the last bit on your trip. How did it feel once, when you were coming to that end? You'd been on the road for what, 9 months now, is it?
Yeah, yeah. 9 months. Um, at some point, I have to be honest, I was also a little bit done with it. Like
Mm,
I love to be on the road, and also it's really I we are really lucky that we can travel, like to
mm,
backpack and to say I'm going a year off, I'm gonna do some bartender job here, and I save, and then I can stay there for 9 months. So I felt really lucky to do that. But at some point during that 9 months, I got kind of I was looking for a more real connection, and all the time that the connection on the surface was nice. But when after those first 6 months, when I met my sister again, I was happy that I met her,
mm.
um, and I was looking a bit more long-term connections instead of like one day, 2 days.
Yeah.
And I also found that in India. That also made me sometimes alone, because I didn't really want to participate all the time in the hostel things, and there are not so many hostels in India as well. So but I found really nice people there, and you're working up to the end of it. So it's going to be 9 months. So before those 9 months, at some point I thought, yeah, okay, I'm also looking forward to see my family and friends again. And then the last 2 weeks, or the last month, my friends came over. So I was with them for 2 weeks. And then the other last 2 weeks, I met with David, this guy who I met all over the place, really good friend of mine. I hope to see him soon. I traveled with him in India the last 2 weeks, and I had a really nice 2 weeks with him. Like, it was amazing. We went to Goa, to Mumbai. We stayed there a long time. We played in a Bollywood movie together as extras, which...
No way, really?
Yeah. This is really the thing. They kind of try to find foreigners for those Bollywood movies because, I don't know why, but for a lot of Indian movies, that's kind of is some way upgrade to show it to look it like really international, I think.
Yeah.
And we knew they were doing that, and they kind of cast you on what's the name in Mumbai downtown, that area. I don't know, this famous place downtown where all the tourists come. Also the place where Shantaram writes about. You know that book?
No, I don't. Sorry, but which book? Sorry.
Shantaram.
No, I don't.
Oh, this is kind of book. I think for you especially would be really nice. It's about an Australian guy who escapes from prison, and he's gonna live in Mumbai, and he's gonna work with Mumbai underground, and it's kind of his perspective, Western perspective on India. It's an amazing book. The first part can be a bit boring sometimes, but it's also philosophical and really traveler's book, I think. But there we got casted, and then it was supposed to take 2 days, and we were there 1 day. It was really funny, but then at some point we thought, okay, bye, we go. So we went off, but you can still see me in the video clip. The movie was called Happy Ending. And this is not a movie that you think it would be. It was a Bollywood movie, and this was then for the big scene, the big dancing scene in the movie. That was amazing. But then, at some point I had to go back. So those, I went kind of up and down. So at some point I thought I'm done with it, and then my friends came, and I had really 2 last weeks with those other people. And I didn't want to go, but I had to go. Like my master's was starting, and I already planned my next trip. I was going to be a half year in Budapest afterwards to study. When I went back, as you see in the documentary, it was gray, like typically Dutch weather. And I was happy to see my friends and family. But what made it easy was that I was just for 4 months in the Netherlands, and I was already I was going to do half year of my master's in Budapest in Hungary. So I just went into working like as bartender again and preparing my master thesis, seeing my friends, and working on the documentary already. So, and I knew that I was going to leave again. So that eased the pain, kind of. Yeah. So I had kind of it was kind of a easy return, and especially when I hear from other people coming back, I think it can be so hard to reintegrate again in life, and especially when you quit your job or something, or from that point on you have to build up everything again. I didn't really. I was lucky enough that I didn't really have to do that. But when I came back from Budapest again, I kind of postponed it. Actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
So wow. So we've been talking for over an hour.
Yeah. Sorry, man. Yeah, I'm all over the place.
No, it's good. I've really enjoyed it. It's flown by. But what do you do now? So what have you done since your documentary came out? What do you do yourself now?
The documentary. Then I started editing, but also try to travel in between, but also start working live. And I was dating with Lucia, my girlfriend, and so I was off and on in Berlin or in the Netherlands. We lived also for a while there in Berlin. So I was trying to kick off my professional career, but first I kind of postponed it. So I started working for a year in a bar, so I could easily go to Berlin. And then at some point I had to make some money. I spent so much money all this time abroad, and then I started as a project manager. Now I'm program manager for 4 days a week at the University of Leiden, and I do a lot of big projects on education, innovation, those kind of things. So it's completely something different. I studied to be a lawyer. And I love what I'm doing. It's really nice. I can have those big projects and kick them off and finish them. And besides that, I work on a documentary like 1-2 days a week. And now I'm looking for a new project. We still have the dream to start kind of a bed and breakfast at some day. We tried first to start our own sneaker brand in Colombia. Then we started that didn't really work out, and we want to make our own backpack brand. But it's really hard to do business with, my girlfriend is Colombian, with Colombians on distance. So now we think, okay, maybe we want to have a bed and breakfast for us, so we can also see other travelers and still be in that mood. And I think once 1 month a year we go to some country and travel there.
Wow, so you keep yourself busy now after that. And so I suppose my final question to you is like, so what did this journey do to you overall? How did it change you? I mean, I see, I wrote down in my notes after reading your documentary, it's, you appreciate the small things, it's traveling more, learning more.
Yeah, I have to admit that the small things at some point also, you keep that experience in mind, but they're traveling 6 hours is nothing, And here in the Netherlands, for us, it's already long if you have to travel more than half hour. It's a tiny country. I'm still complaining about that again, but always in the back of my mind, like, you know how it can be.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it made me a more open person, much more open. I met great people. Like it really changed my life. I really have good friends that I also see on I think on monthly basis. I have my girlfriend that it brought me, and I got infected with the travel bug, which is something you cannot remove once you get it. And I think that's something people who want to travel should also keep in mind. Once you start traveling, probably you're gonna like it so much, and you always want to see the difference,
Exactly. The world's a big place, and like you say, once you start, you can't stop. It's that anxiety of getting over it and just going. But actually, sorry, I do actually have one more question for you. Address it, and you do address it in your documentary, and I just think it is a really nice question to end on. Is why can't we do it the normal way? You asked it. Why can't backpackers do it the normal way?
They, as I said also before, like we all the time want to have this local experience, and then you have those campfire stories, I met this guy, especially what I'm doing the same now also to you, we're always looking for this unique experience, which also doesn't make us unique, so in that way also the title I think is really applicable, same but different, that we all want to do something different, but at the end we all want to do something with the local, and which is not, I don't give any value to, like, how do you say, it's not a problem that people think that, but people should also realize that being unique also, there's many more people who also think like that and want to have that unique experience. So backpackers is also a group of people, and they will come up with the same things mostly, but the stories are unique, and that's cool, and that you should also celebrate because I think you also know many people. You hear those stories, you think, how is it possible that this can happen, or that this happened to people? And that what makes so fun, all the time to hear those stories, to have those cool experiences that you wouldn't have back home.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's a perfect way of ending it and putting it, really. So thank you so much. Same but different, a documentary on YouTube. Where can we find it? What promotions do you want?
Now people can find on YouTube, and if they like, put a comment, subscribe, that also is nice to see, and it gives a higher ranking in YouTube. And if they share it, that's the most important thing for me, because I don't earn any money from it. I only put money into it.
Yeah.
Is that as many people see it, and in some way that they can get motivate them maybe to get out of their comfort zone. And if that will be traveling or something different, that doesn't matter. But I hope, it gives some energy to people to do the things that they want to do.
Yeah, I think it will. It really does. I've really enjoyed watching it, and I've really enjoyed you coming on, man. I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man.
No problem.
Thanks a lot.
And stop recording.